discussion of concern of possible actions, and we have a letter from FEMA with Guy Browning.
Welcome, Guy.
Thanks. As we've discussed before, FEMA is going to issue new burn maps for Lincoln County. The effective date will be October 16th of this year, 2013. There's not a whole lot of change in the maps. Some of the A zones have increased. Cold River now will go from an A zone to an AE zone. That's a good thing. If you're in that zone now, at least you know you can, by elevation, you're either in or you're out. In an A zone, there is no elevations. Before the effective date, the Commission has to adopt a floodplain ordinance. And there have to be 2 readings of the ordinance. And there's 2 possibilities. The Commission can either amend the existing ordinance that was established in 1986, or we can adopt a new model ordinance that's pretty much used throughout the state. And I'll place the copy there at your seats. My recommendation is to adopt the new model ordinance. The ordinance will have to be approved by West Virginia Homeland Security and FEMA, and chances are the old ordinance will not be approved by either organization. Like I say, there have to be 2 readings in a meeting at least 2 weeks apart. If we want to adopt a new model ordinance, I don't think I need to sit here and read the whole ordinance. What I recommend is let me highlight some of the changes, post a copy down in the Commission's office, and if anybody wants a copy, they can come to my office or they can look at the ordinance down there if the Commission will agree to that. If that's what y'all, instead of reading the whole.
Is that what you recommend?
That's what I recommend. We'll be here for hours if we have to read the whole ordinance.
Would that keep us in compliance with what they want?
I checked with Homeland Security and they said that we can do that way. With this meeting being the first reading of the ordinance.
Okay, so if we go ahead and adopt the ordinance tonight, then the new plan, then would you not have to post? Basically, my question is, we always have special meetings to do those type things and things, but the way you're saying it, basically, if we go ahead and post it and things of that nature and do that, we're okay.
And it has to be in an open meeting, but the ordinance is the 2 readings.
So you're going to read it now and then the 15th, and then we can adopt it?
Yeah. If the new model ordinance is what we want to go with, I'll go over some of the changes. And like I said, leave a copy in the Commission's office for anyone to see, or they can come to my office and get a copy.
But, okay, so you basically, we don't have to adopt the ordinance before the, okay. So basically,
next
we need to go ahead and do everything.
The next meeting, then we will adopt it. Right now, with the old ordinance, any new construction, relocation, substantial improvement, or substantial damage requires you to be at or above the base flood elevation. The new ordinance will require you to be 2 feet above the base flood elevation. And why this is a good idea is if you have a storm event and the water's coming up, well, it doesn't know it's at the 100-year flood level. It could go above that. That's what everything's based off of, is the 100-year flood level, but you could have a storm that exceeds that level. And also, if you're 2 feet above, as far as flood insurance, it would cut your flood insurance in half. So I think this is something that needs to be in the ordinance also. Now, once someone applies for a permit, there was nothing in the ordinance that said you had a certain time limit to complete your construction. The new ordinance, you'll have 18 months from the time the building permit was issued to finish. Now, if I think you're working on your project, I can extend that with the new ordinance. It can be extended to 18 months again. Mobile homes now, there was not much in the old ordinance about mobile homes in a special flood hazard area. The new ordinance if you place a mobile home in a special flood hazard area, it has to be installed by a licensed home installer. And it has to comply with FEMA regulations such as elevation, anchoring, venting the foundation, and also the piers underneath have to be installed with FEMA regulations. That's in the new ordinance where it wasn't in the old ordinance. And that's not a major problem either, because if you pay someone to set up a mobile home for you, the Department of Labor requires a licensed installer to do that regardless if you pay someone to install a mobile home for you. So that's not a real serious issue. And in the new ordinance now that wasn't in the old, if you elevate a structure to be out of the base flood elevation, and there's room underneath that can be converted later on to living area, you have to sign a non-conversion agreement with the flood, with me, the floodplain manager, that you will not convert that area to living space. It can only be used as a parking or storage. That was not in the old ordinance. When I was talking about A-zones is an approximated zone. There's no elevation to say if you elevate 650 feet above sea level, you'll be above the base flood elevation. It's just an approximated zone. And floodplain managers have pretty broad powers in zone A's. And there wasn't much in the old ordinance about zone A's. Now, if I'm trying to determine a reasonably safe alternative to be flooded, I can require a 50-foot setback from the stream, or twice the width of that stream, whichever is less. I don't see that as a problem. Most people would want to be back as far as they could be anyway from the stream. That was not in the old floodplain ordinance. Another thing that was not in the old ordinance that I think we need to have is, if we adopt a new ordinance, we can enter into an agreement with Appalachian Power that no power, temporary or permanent, can be installed until they've got a building permit and I've issued a certificate of compliance. That was not in the old ordinance. And I contacted AEP and they said it would have to be in the ordinance before they could make that, before they would adopt that also. It had to be in our ordinance before they could do that. In the old ordinance, the fine for non-compliance was $25 or minimum $25, maximum $300. In the new ordinance, the fine will be a minimum of $50 and a maximum of $500. And any of these things that the commission doesn't want to go with, we can take that out of the new ordinance, but again, FEMA's got to approve it, and the West Virginia Department of Homeland Security's got to approve it. So I'm not saying we can't, we just need to think about if we want to take something out that I'm going over. And my last suggestion, well, it's not a suggestion, I just want to make sure that the commission wants to leave the permit fees the way they are now. Now it's $25 for the first 1,000 and $1 for each additional 1,000. To me, it's fair. I don't see any need to change it, but it'll be up to the commission. But those are the major changes between the two ordinances. And like I say, we have to have 2 readings and at least 2 weeks apart. And then before the effective dates of the flood map, FEMA has to approve the ordinance and the Homeland Security Department has to approve it. So it should give us plenty of time, if we do another reading the next meeting, for me to get it to them, for them to approve.
Any questions from commissioners? So we'll do this again the next meeting.
Yeah.
Now, can we adopt the ordinance then, or do we have to wait the following? Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda to have a reading and possible adoption of the ordinance.
Adopt the ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your
So
work.
when we get ready to move that trailer we talked about from Furlsburg to Harts, we'll have to make sure it complies.
Yep. That's true.
Unless we got to move before we get to ordinance.
We'll hook up to it tomorrow.
I'd hate that to find the commission. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.